changing the subject of a formula. At the moment, 12 is the subject of this formula because 12 is equal to all of this stuff. Over here, 8 is equal to the subject of the formula. We want to make, in this case, A the subject of the formula, which means we want A on its own. And so in order to get A on its own, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the B. So I'm going to add B to both sides. So I'm going to get 2A, and that's equal to 12 plus B. And now I need to get A on its own, so I divide both sides by 2. So A is equal to 12 plus B divided by 2. If you like, you can make that means that A is equal to 6 plus B over 2. Either of these ways are okay. That's okay, and that's okay. The most important thing is getting yourself started like this. Okay, here's a slight difference in this. The same kind of question, but just slightly different. We want to make A the subject of this formula. I need to get rid of everything else, just leave the A on its own. So I'm going to add B divided by 2 onto both sides. So 2A is equal to 8 plus B over 2. All right, and now I've got 2A's over here, so I want to get rid of, I'll just make this a proper 2. I now want to get rid of there's 2A's, and I only want 1A, so I'm going to divide it by 2. So that means that A is equal to, well, divide this by 2 is 8 plus B over 2, B over 2, all divided by 2. And that means that A is equal to, well, 8 divided by 2 is 4, and B divided by 2 is B divided by 4. Okay? So that's the answer to this one. Okay, let's move on to the next ones. Okay, we have 2 more equations here to sort out. This one here is, we want to make x the subject of the formula. So what we did today is, you may remember, we factored out the x. So x goes into a minus 3, and that's equal to 5. And the way this works is, look, the x multiplied by a gives me xa. There that is. ax is the same as xa. And the x into the negative 3 gives me minus 3x, which is what this is here. So this line down here, this term, is the same as these up here. And we still have 5 over here. I want x on its own, so I need to divide both sides by a minus 3. So x is equal to 5 divided by a minus 3. And that's the answer to that one. Let's have a look at this one over here. Y plus 2/3 is equal to x minus 9 divided by 3. Okay, now I need to get x on its own. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. So that's going to give me 3y plus 3 multiplied by this here, 3 multiplied by this here. The 3 multiplies by the 2. The 3 2's is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And that's equal to x minus 9. Okay, if you need to practice this or think about it, if you put it into your calculator even, 3 multiplied by 2/3, you're going to get 2. And just to show you, it would look like this here. I'll write it down here, okay, in green. If you have 2/3 multiplied by 3, okay, there's almost like an invisible 1 here, which gives me 6 over 3, and that's equal to 2. Okay, I'm looking for x on its own, so I need to add 9 to both sides to get rid of this. So I'm going to get that 3y plus 2 plus 9 is equal to x, and I need to clean this up to say that x equals 3y plus 11. I was going to write something else there. 11. And that's the answer to this. We usually write the subject of the formula on the left-hand side. You normally write your x on the left, or wherever the subject would be. It's normally on the left. But it's not wrong having it like this way either. It's just not as usual as this way. Okay, let's move on to another one. Okay, the first one we want to get y to be the subject of the formula, but we cannot do anything with these y's as they currently are. I can't factor them. I can't remove them in any easy way. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by y minus 1, and that gets rid of it off the bottom. It stops it being a fraction like this. So I'm going to get x times y minus 1. That's equal to 3y plus 2. Now we don't have a fraction. We've y on both sides, but we're still better than we were a moment ago. So now I'm going to multiply this out. I'm going to get xy minus x is equal to 3y plus 2. Let's get all the y's onto one side. So I'm going to bring my y's over here. So I'm going to now get xy minus 3y is equal to 2 plus x. So what I did was I brought my 3y across, becomes minus 3y because I'm minus 3y both sides. And then I added x to both sides to get rid of the x over to here. And there's my 2. I left that alone. So now I want to factor out, I'm looking for y's. So I'm going to now factor out the y. So y into x minus 3 is equal to 2 plus x. And then y is equal to 2 plus x divided by x minus 3. So there you are. Y is equal to 2 plus x over x minus 3. You'd never guess it was going to be like that looking at this, would you? But when you change the subject step by step, this is what you get. Okay, now we're trying to get b to be the subject of the formula here. Okay, b is inside the square root, and it's b squared as well. I might redo that slightly because it looks a bit funny. It's b squared plus c. So first of all, we need to get rid of the square root both sides. So let's square both sides. I'm going to square the left-hand side and the right side. So a squared gives me that. And this to be squared gives me b squared plus c. When you square something inside a square root, the whole square root disappears. Now I need to get the b on its own, so I'm going to remove the c. So a squared minus c is equal to b squared. And b is equal to the square root of a squared minus c is equal to b. Okay, so going through that again, a is equal to this, we want b to be the subject. Get the square root of both sides, a squared is equal to this. We've now got rid of the square root. I then get rid of the c onto this side, and then I get the square root of both sides to give myself b. So b is equal to, and I might write b is equal to the square root of a squared minus c. Okay. Let's do two more, maybe 2 or 3 more of the more substantial ones, and then we're done. So, okay, we're trying to make t the subject of this one here. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. It's going to give me 2a is equal to 3 root or t. I now need to divide both sides by 3 because I'm still trying to get t in its own. So 2a divided by 3 is equal to the root or t. I now need to square both sides because I need to get rid of the square root. So it's going to be 4a squared over 9 is equal to or t. I now divide by or, and it's my last step. So or is equal to 4a squared over 9, and then I'm dividing by t as well. Okay. And then lastly, this one over here, v is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h, which is the volume of a cone, I think. So that means v, we're trying to make h the subject. So v, multiply both sides by 3. 3v is equal to pi r squared h. So I just multiplied to get rid of the fraction. Now I'm going to divide across by pi r squared. So 3v divided by pi r squared is equal to h. And that's that. So those ones are a little bit more difficult, I suppose. There's more involved in them, but it's all just step-by-step stuff, and it'll really improve your mathematics to start getting good at this. Really, really good. It's a great investment for your not just your junior cert, but going on to your leaving cert. This sort of stuff will be very handy. Okay, and one more that I like to look of, and it's x over b is equal to b squared over a minus d. Okay, and we want b to be the subject of the formula. Okay, now I have a b squared over here, and I have a b on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by b to get this b off the bottom. Okay, so that's going to give me then, I'm going to get x is equal to, well, b multiplied by b squared is b cubed over a minus d. And now I want to get the b on its own, so I need to multiply both sides by a minus d. So x multiplied by a minus d is equal to b cubed. And then I need to get b on its own, and that's the cubed root of b. So I'm going to get the cubed root, not the squared root, the cubed root of x a minus d, that's equal to b. Now that's a very difficult one because you may not have come across cubed roots and cubes before, but it's exactly the same sort of structure we've been doing.